I've always said Days Gone is like still water. You do not know how deep it is until you dive in. In this episode, we're taking a deep dive into the character named Rikki Patil and uncovering all the details hidden beneath the surface. Early concept sketches in the Days Gone art book reveal how Rikki evolved significantly during development of the game. These sketches show that game developer Ben Studio explored different ages and ethnicities in addition to different personalities for her. One sketch even features the label Lieutenant Rikki Alvarez, suggesting she might have originally been conceived with a role in the militia that players encounter in the later chapters of the game. It is also interesting to note that Alvarez is the name given for the woman who was murdered by the smuggler Leon at the start of the game. This might hint that Rikki was initially intended to be a smaller part of Deacon's backstory. However, over time, her last name changed to Patil, her Indian ethnicity was established, and she was solidified as a key character in both Lost Lake Camp and an important character in the broader narrative of the game itself.
I had two older brothers who were always fixing cars and shit with my dad.
Before the world fell apart, Rikki lived in a small town outside Portland with her father and two older brothers. She was working part-time at Boeing and going to college to become a mechanical engineer, which might explain how she can fix a hydroelectric power plant, modify a truck into a fortified bomb on wheels, and even make a prosthetic arm from an ice cream scoop. Though we are never told much about Rikki's mother, there is a collectible in her cabin that does give us some insight. The collectible is a poem written in Hindi and given to her by her mother that explains how she is able to remain so optimistic in a world so full of darkness. The poem eloquently defines one of Rikki Patil's central themes, the idea of banishing darkness by creating light. In Deacon's log for the quest, I Got a Job for You, he reflects on how bad things were in Portland when society collapsed by saying, "Mega hordes of freakers surged up Interstate 5 towards the city. It's a miracle Rikki made it out alive."
When shit went down, I was 100 miles from home.
By the time I reached the house, it was deserted. The entire neighborhood was deserted. There were flyers everywhere, evacuation orders. I went to the closest refugee camp, but it was overrun. Everyone was dead. Freaks were everywhere.
Even through all that chaos, Rikki managed to bring her father's favorite wrench with her as a memento. It's interesting that she keeps this symbol of her own past because one of Rikki's defining traits is how she criticizes Deacon for being stuck in his past. The key difference here is that she sees Deacon as being trapped in his past and stuck in a self-destructive cycle that puts him and those around him in danger of being pulled down into that darkness with him. Rikki, on the other hand, feels that she is honoring her past by using it as the fuel which drives her efforts to help build a better future. Her father's wrench is a perfect symbol for how she deals with the past. Her past isn't something that holds her back. Instead, she uses it as a tool for fixing, securing, and holding things together, which is exactly what she does for Lost Lake Camp and what she tries to do for Deacon as well. While Deacon is bound by his grief, Rikki takes what she's lost and turns it into something that strengthens her. It's not just about fixing things physically. It's about creating a place where people feel safe and can actually move forward. Deacon himself recognizes this difference between them in one of his logs when he asks, "How do you get over something like that?" We find out from in-game dialogue that Deacon and Boozer met Rikki just a few months after the collapse. Deacon also writes in his log, "She helped us fight off a band of Kermijis," which is presumably a reference to a type of enemy that was cut from the game before release. The Days Gone wiki even mentions these Kermijis in the same sentence as Rippers, Anarchist, and something called the Coyote Pack, implying they were all different factions of human enemies. Creative director John Garvin even confirmed this in a 2022 Twitter message, explaining that the Kermijis were inspired by real-life Rajneeshis, a fringe religious group in Oregon who poisoned 751 people during their 1984 bioterror attack. While riding the broken road together, Rikki, Deacon, Boozer, and a few other unnamed people traveled through Tumalo and eventually to Lost Lake Camp, where Rikki decided to settle down. Rikki was good, could take care of herself, Deacon says in his journal. When she decided to settle down at Lost Lake, it was a loss. He goes on to say, no hard feelings. No feelings at all, really. Living as drifters, Rikki and Deacon were friends, but never anything more. They were too busy just trying to stay alive. On the road, we didn't have time for that shit, he writes. Get caught with your pants down? You were dead. Just as simple as that. In the world of Days Gone, survivors are divided into two distinct categories, drifters and campers. While Rikki was once a tough and capable drifter, by settling at Lost Lake, she became a camper, a group Deacon refers to as soft. Campers don't have to spend every moment fighting to survive. They are able to let their guard down. At least that's Deacon's point of view. Rikki, on the other hand, sees camp life as committing to a greater purpose beyond mere survival. The future. She believes she can make a difference and help steer the world toward a brighter place.
This is when I knew.
What'd you know, Rikki?
That I didn't want to end up like so many of us here, we're trapped in the past or running from it. I want to look forward, okay? Not back.
In this scene, she's telling Deacon that she's seen too many people consumed by their grief. It's why she couldn't go on being a drifter anymore, and why she forms her personal mission to save Deacon from himself. Rikki doesn't believe there's any chance Sarah could be alive. She thinks Deke is destroying himself with false hope, allowing his grief and anger to consume him and those around him. Rikki tries to inspire Deacon to change his dark and destructive nature with her speech about lighting a candle. If she can help him just let go of his past and instead look to the future, maybe she can help him find his way out of that abyss. Deacon simply is not ready to hear this message yet, but by this point, Rikki has set her mind on saving Deke, no matter the cost.
So, you and Addy.
You got a problem?
Rikki is in a relationship with Lost Lake's medic, Addy Walker. Addy is the complete opposite of Deacon. She's a compassionate optimist who always sees the good in people, the light to Deacon's darkness. We don't know much about the early days of their relationship, but Rikki tells Deacon that Addy, or perhaps what Addy represents, is why she chose to settle down at a camp in the first place. Addy isn't just a partner to Rikki, she's a symbol of hope for a stable future. The central theme of Days Gone is finding not just a reason to survive, but a reason to live. And in a world that's fallen apart, relationships and human connection are what hold us together. Where Deacon isolates himself in grief, Rikki embraces the idea that survival isn't just about making it through the day. It's about creating a future that's worth living for.
That's why I'm at the camp. You know, chance to live a normal life again.
Even though Addy represents stability, Rikki isn't fully committed to their relationship in the same way that Addy is. She tells Deacon that her relationship with Addy is open, casually brushing off the idea of a long-term commitment. On the other hand, Addy clearly does not feel the same way. There's an imbalance between them, a quiet tension that suggests Addy is far more invested than Rikki is willing to be. Deacon even notes in a journal entry that Addy isn't jealous of him or threatened by his connection with Rikki. When Addy and Rikki argue about Rikki having been gone all day, it's not about who she was with. Addy is simply worried because Rikki was out in the shit for so long.
No, this is your clutch.
Even though we never get a clear explanation for why Rikki is reluctant to commit to Addy, it likely comes down to her own insecurities. Deep down, she fears that the world is too broken to ever be fixed. There's a part of her that keeps herself emotionally distant, afraid of truly connecting. This would explain why she is so invested in saving Deacon. On some level, Rikki sees herself in him. Part of her longs to grieve for everything she's lost, to fall into that same darkness Deacon lives in. But another part of her is desperately resisting that pull and trying to hold on to something better. Rikki's inner conflict is a constant tug-of-war between light and darkness. Deacon and Addy represent those opposing forces. Deacon is the temptation of surrendering to grief, while Addy represents the possibility of healing and choosing hope. Rikki knows she should choose Addy, the light, but the temptation to give in to her own pain and despair is powerful. All of her projects, like bringing electricity to Lost Lake or finally getting that hot shower, are distractions, ways to avoid confronting the truth about herself. She's in denial, not just about the world, but about her own heart. Rikki's feelings for Deacon are completely unreciprocated. Deacon makes it clear he doesn't feel the same way, even writing in his journal, "I don't think Rikki gets it. I'm not ready for anything."
Rikki, I'm not sure that, well, I hear that Addy doesn't really like, people messing around in her business.
Yeah, I heard that too.
In this scene, when Rikki says, "I'm not married," she doesn't realize immediately that she has just found the reason for Deacon's hesitation. Sarah may be dead, but in his heart, he is still married and is still committed to the memory of his wife. That is the depth of his loyalty to her. What's telling here is that it takes Rikki a moment to understand this, especially since she's in a relationship herself. This delayed realization highlights her lack of true commitment. Her feelings for Addy seem shallow in comparison to Deacon's grief for and loyalty to his late wife. Rikki doesn't even view her advances on Deacon as a betrayal to Addy, which just shows how disconnected she is from any real emotional commitment to her. The turning point in their relationship doesn't come until Lost Lake is attacked by rippers. Addy rushes from the infirmary to help the injured campers, only to find herself with a ripper knife to her throat.
No.
In that moment, Rikki finally realizes just what she has to lose. In Deacon's journal entry about the mission, he says, "It takes almost losing someone to make you see, really see, how you feel about them." The look on Rikki's face when she thought that ripper was going to cut Addy's throat said more than words ever could.
You okay?
I'm sorry about everything.
Oh God, me too.
Deke goes on to say they almost killed Addy, and there wasn't much me or Rikki could have done to stop them. I don't think Rikki's going to let anything like that happen again. When Deacon sets off on his journey south in search of Sarah, Rikki tries to get him to stay at Lost Lake. She tells him he's afraid to be here, but in that moment, she's also speaking to herself. Despite all the effort she's putting into building a future, she's still afraid of fully committing to it. Deep down, she's scared of failing or of getting hurt all over again. Addy interrupts and tells Deacon to find his woman. When she turns to Rikki and says, "You know where to find me," her meaning is unmistakable. You already know where your woman is. I'm right here. Addy is fully invested in the relationship. She's asking Rikki to be equally as committed. Deacon even echoes this same sentiment by wondering if Addy has found her woman. It's a question we don't see answered until the end credits, where Rikki and Addy share a quiet, intimate moment, holding each other close in a way that speaks volumes without words. In this final embrace, there is no hesitation, no uncertainty. It's a commitment that transcends the chaos of the world around them. Rikki, once so desperate to secure a place in the future, finally has a reason to live in the present.
See? Good things happen when you stop and light a candle.
Being part of a camp in the apocalypse offers a sense of security, not just physical safety, but also through the social bonds formed between campers. They rely on each other and work together to protect the group. A key part of Rikki's backstory is her love for her father. After his death, she finds a new father figure in Lost Lake's leader, Iron Mike. Both share the same goal: to fix the world one small piece at a time. Look ahead, not behind.
We make the world what it is.
This ties back to the theme of rebuilding, of father figures, and of the future, with her dad's wrench serving as the central metaphor for everything Rikki values. Rikki and Iron Mike understand that rebuilding the world requires trust and togetherness. On the opposite end of the spectrum from Iron Mike is Skizzo, Lost Lake's head of security. Skizzo is a self-preserving realist driven by his own interest. When his goals align with others, like protecting the camp, he's on board. But when push comes to shove, he will always put himself and his own survival first. Because of this, Skizzo and Rikki clash frequently, especially when trying to sway Iron Mike on issues, particularly those issues concerning Deacon St. John. At first, their conflict seems to be about differing views on security policy, but there is more beneath the surface. Skizzo has a not-so-secret attraction to Rikki, something you hear about through a conversation between two campers when you sneak into Lost Lake to steal antibiotics for Boozer. During the mission to the dam, Rikki confides in Deacon that Skizzo is a peeping Tom. She caught him spying on her and Addy during an intimate moment. Deacon suggests Skizzo was probably interested in Addy, but it turns out this isn't the first time Skizzo has spied on Rikki. When you gain access to Skizzo's cabin, you can find several collectibles, one of which is a couple of Polaroid photos of Rikki getting undressed, clearly taken through a window. You can also find a pair of binoculars on the kitchen counter. We can infer from here what he was using those for. Skizzo is far more calculating and observant than he lets on. He plays dumb, but he knows how to manipulate situations and people to get what he wants. When he notices Rikki's growing attraction to Deacon, he sees Deke as a threat to whatever chance he has with her. This tension escalates during the visit to the infirmary when Rikki takes Deacon to treat his wound. Skizzo spies on them through the window, seeing Deacon shirtless. While nothing happens between them, Skizzo uses this moment later as leverage against Deacon. Rikki and Addy both end up on Skizzo's shit list, which you can find in his cabin. It suggests that Skizzo's attraction to Rikki has soured into resentment, and he now plans to get rid of her, much like he's done with other names on that list. It's clear that Lost Lake, despite its semblance of security, isn't safe for Rikki after all.
Deacon, is it you?
When the militia attacks Lost Lake, there's a moment of pure panic in Rikki's voice as she realizes Iron Mike has been lost in the chaos.
Iron Mike, I can't find him!
In the midst of the attack, her worst fear comes true.
Rikki.
Yeah, I'm here, Mike. I'm here.
She's lost the father figure she's come to rely on. Rikki is by his side when he passes, holding his hand and offering him reassurance. In that moment, she's able to give him something she wasn't able to provide her own father: comfort during his final moments. It's a bittersweet moment of closure for Rikki, who never had the chance to say goodbye to her dad. The loss of Iron Mike is undeniably devastating for Rikki and the camp, as he represented the last hope for rebuilding a stable future. But it also opens up new possibilities. With Mike's death, there's space for change, new leadership, new directions, and perhaps the chance for Rikki to step into a role she never considered before. The loss, while heartbreaking, signals the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. This scene at the cemetery shows how Rikki and Addy are honoring Iron Mike's legacy. The grave marker is made from a piece of redwood Iron Mike had kept for a very special purpose, making a cribbage board. It was something he hoped to do when the world calmed down a bit. A small, seemingly trivial act with a much deeper meaning. Someday, simple pleasures will matter again. It's a reminder of Iron Mike's hope for normalcy, even though he never got to see it.
Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. And clouds do not swallow their own rain. What great ones have is always for the benefit of others.
The Hindu proverb from Rikki's mother is a perfect tribute to Iron Mike, and it speaks to Rikki's own inner conflict. She's spent so much time focused on the future to the detriment of what she has here in the present. The connection between her past, present, and future is now apparent. Rikki's journey mirrors the world she inhabits, broken, but capable of healing. She's coming to terms with the magnitude of what's been lost. She now sees that simply clinging to hope and striving to rebuild isn't enough. To truly move forward, she must accept that the grief and pain of her past will never disappear. The darkness will always be there, just as it is for all of us. A candle will not banish the shadows. It simply offers a steady light in the midst of them. Rikki's acceptance of this truth is her power. She knows that love, community, and selflessness will be what truly propels her toward a future that's worth living for.